What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is Christmas Eve 2024, so hopefully everybody out there is having a fantastic day and you're spending it with some friends and family. Now, here on the Beer Patrol, every year on Christmas Eve, I try to review a beer that invokes the holiday spirit, and I think this beer right here is the perfect beer, and it's also the 7th holiday beer review for the month of December 2024, and it once again it comes from the Cinderlands Beer Company, and they are out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and this is their One More Sleep, the 2024 release. So they're calling this one an Imperial Gingerbread inspired milk stout, and on the back of the label it says stout brewed with Madagascar vanilla bean, cinnamon, ginger, and milk sugar, aka lactose. It comes in at 8% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review. This can is approximately 6 weeks old. So I thought this was the perfect beer to review tonight because of the name mostly, One More Sleep, aka One More Sleep Till Christmas. And it's also a Imperial Gingerbread inspired milk stout, which I think goes great for Christmas Eve if you're leaving some cookies out for Santa. And you know, about, I think it was a couple weeks ago, it was it the third holiday beer review for this month that I reviewed was Cinderlands She's a Beaut and Lot of Sap. They were both spruce tip IPAs, and that was such a fun side-by-side to do. So we are back with another Cinderlands beer, and this is the other one that I have for this month, and I'm here for it. I'd say the big gingerbread stout that everybody knows about is Hardywood's, and that is fantastic. I'm curious to see if this is any better, any different, whatever the case may be. So let's crack this one open, get it into the glass, and try to enjoy ourselves. Regardless of whether or not this beer is good. The season, everything going on, the channel, friends, this is a great time. Plain and simple. So let's give it a pour here. I don't want to go too aggressive, but I also would like a decent size head, and I'm going to get one. We'll do something like that. You know, the head's going to definitely settle down at some point. When, who knows, but that looks beautiful in the glass. So I'm not going to show you the Homer as Cousin Eddie side or the other side where it says some swear words. Try not to cuss. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, we'll see if I can do that. But yeah, that has a jet black look to it on camera. In person, pretty close. I see a little ruby red hint, maybe mahogany at the very bottom, but for the most part, it's jet black. 3 fingers because I poured it aggressively, maybe 4 if they're not as big as mine. And yeah, this is a dark brown colored head. That is a very dark brown colored head. It looks super creamy. There are some bigger bubbles that don't make it like infinitely creamy. It doesn't look like a nitro head, but it does look like it's pretty creamy, and it looks like it's going to stick around. As you can see, if I move it around like that, it's not going anywhere. And Homer, or Cousin Eddie, Homer as Cousin Eddie, says, "What's up?" Anyway, let's get a nose. Yeah, I mean, it smells like gingerbread. It's ginger, it's molasses. No honey in this, but I do get like a honey sweetness too. If you don't like ginger, the nose here is not going to do you any favors. It's very intense. It does smell like you're picking up a gingerbread cookie and putting it to your face piece. However, it also has the stout qualities you would want out of something like this. A nice, deeply roasted malt character. There's a little bit of chocolate and coffee. That molasses really plays to both the stout side and then the gingerbread-esque pastry side of this one. A little bit of vanilla as well. It's almost like I had a mocha coffee and I'm dipping a gingerbread cookie into that, or like it's in front of my face and I'm going to do that, or I dipped it in the coffee and I'm bringing it to my mouth. That's kind of what this smells like. The only concern I have right now with the nose is that the ginger is definitely the predominant character. Like, it is pretty intense, if I'm being honest. Grinch turn off. Grinch, we cannot turn off on Christmas Eve, although you're gonna because that's how you work, but come on, man. I know you're the Grinch and you don't like this time of year, but we're drinking hopefully a delicious Imperial Gingerbread inspired milk stout. Anyway, I want to get into it. There is no metallic vibe. I also should mention that because with milk stouts, I usually get a metallic vibe in the nose. Not getting that here, probably covered up by the adjuncts. Anyway, let's get into it. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, the whole nine, Christmas Eve 2024. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day and that everything goes smoothly into tomorrow. Cheers. Oh, that ginger's intense. Wow. It is so drying. And let me go back. What is happening right now on my palate? All right, so time out. I'm going to say this right off at 2 sips. If you're not somebody who is a ginger fan, but you see something like this, and you're like, oh, that sounds like it might be okay. Maybe I'll handle it. No, just no. You're not going to handle this. Santa Hat Ball says no. It's very ginger forward, almost to a fault. We'll see as I continue to drink on this one. But what's happening is this is actually, and works extremely well because so many of these huge Imperial Milk Stouts are cloying or they're super sweet. This does not have that problem because there is a firm, I'm telling you, a firm, earthy, almost resinous pine finish to this one. Maybe my palate's broken. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But I'm telling you, there's something different going on here. In a good way, but also that ginger's a little bit iffy. Go back for another sip. Body on this one is lower side of full, medium full, 8%. It's bigger than 8%. If you told me this is 9.5, 10, yeah. It has a viscosity. It's not like you're chewing it, but there's a little bit of like a fudgy kind of syrupy feel to it. So the body's really nice, and it lets you know you're drinking Imperial beer, but it's definitely bigger than 8% body-wise. The mouthfeel, nice, mild to moderate carbonation, more approaching moderate, spritzy on the palate, but it's still somewhat, I shouldn't say soft. It's more smooth than anything. It's very smooth going down. There's a hint of creaminess here. Look at the glass lacing. Absolutely immaculate glass lacing. Like, that's fantastic. The taste is such a different animal for what I anticipated being an Imperial pastry stout. That's what I thought this was. They say Imperial Gingerbread inspired milk stout. So I'm thinking you got lactose in here because it's a milk stout. You're brewing it with, I think, what was it? Cinnamon, ginger, or ginger, cinnamon, vanilla bean. It's 8%. I'm just expecting a big, sweet, kind of rich, decadent dessert beer. It has vibes of that. At its soul, that's what it is. But it's not exactly that. So forefront, ginger, front to back, ginger. Predominant note, hits me at the tip of the tongue, carries on to the back of the palate. It actually finishes with this dry, like ginger and cinnamon kind of feeling to it. And it's like, I'd say firmly dry. It's not bone dry, but it's definitely firmly dry. It dries out a lot because of that. But at the forefront and underneath that ginger is, again, a lot of rich, decadent chocolate, cocoa powder, I would say more so than anything, a mild to moderate roasted coffee, and also a deeply roasted just malt in general, like almost borderline char in the nose. It didn't carry over to that degree, but it's deeply roasted. It's pretty sweet up front underneath that ginger. It has, again, that's richer chocolate. It has mocha vibes, so richer chocolate and coffee vibes. A little bit of that, a touch of that molasses. There's some honey kicking around. Halfway through the palate, I get hit with the vanilla bean. It accentuates those sweet flavors. So now I'm starting to say, oh yeah, this is a milk stout. Not because of lactose, but the vanilla is bringing, like, you know, what a milk stout does. It has that like dairy-esque kind of a vibe to it, but it's a sweeter, like chocolate, coffee, and vanilla vibe, the first 2/3 of the palate. But what happens on the finish is you get all that, you could say gingerbread cookie without question, the first 2/3 of the palate. But on the finish hits, and again, it's that drying ginger and cinnamon quality, but then in addition to that, it is this slightly resinous pine and earthy hop bitterness. And it's like a moderate hop bitterness. As we're speaking right now, there is a lingering bitterness on my palate, which I did not anticipate in the least, but it helps it. It helps it a lot, because otherwise this would be a rich, decadent beer that I would like to split with another person at the very least. Yeah, so I would say this. If you are not a ginger fan, do not pick this one up, or don't even think about it. It's too ginger forward for the people who could maybe tolerate it in small doses. But if you're somebody who doesn't mind ginger and you want a Imperial pastry milk stout that still actually is balanced to some degree and isn't just, you know, cloying, sweet, rich, decadent, and you drink 3 or 4 ounces and you're like, I'm done, and then I'm like, hey Grinch, we're gonna turn you on for like the 15th time this review. If you're one of those folks that wants balance to the bigger imperial pastry beers of nowadays, this is a beer to seek out. I'm kind of all over the place. The ginger, I like ginger. Like, I love ginger. You know, give me ginger beer, give me ginger ales when it comes to drinks. I like ginger in food and whatnot. I do like it. This might be a little bit heavy-handed for me to enjoy more than I could probably handle a can, but it might be tough the last 3 or 4 ounces. So I'm going to pour the rest in here. Look at this glass lacing one more time. Like, that is some of the best glass lacing I have ever seen from a beer on my channel. Like, it is just like, you can see how I drank it down or consumed it in stages. Each sip is documented with my glass. 8%. Here's another thing too. Very scary. Very scary for you. I wasn't even thinking about that. I'm like, oh, it's rich and it's, it has a bigger body than the 8%, so it drinks more like 9.5%, 10%. But there is a slight warming maybe in my chest. And maybe that's just me thinking about it and like making things up. There's nothing on the palate. This has no ethanol, kind of astringent alcohol characteristic. This is a tale of two beers. One that might just be a little bit wonky for what this beer is supposed to be, and then the other one's like, wow, this is like a balanced imperial pastry stout, almost imperial pastry black IPA. Yeah, that's how hoppy it is. It has that moderate bitterness on the finish. If they said this was an Imperial Gingerbread inspired black IPA, I would be like, wow, I need to try that. It has enough bitterness where I think that's kind of where it lands. This is a fun, cool beer. I'm not going to go real high on this one just because I do think the bitterness is kind of misplaced, even though I do dig it. And the ginger's a little bit heavy-handed. It just is. Even for someone who, like myself, who likes ginger. You really need to like ginger to like this beer. So, I'm not going to give it a great score, but this is such a fun beer. Like, this was the perfect beer for Christmas Eve, not just because of the name and the label and what this beer is supposed to be, but because it was a unique beer. It's a fun beer. It's a different beer. I don't think I've ever really experienced something like this, and I've reviewed over 2,000 beers on the channel. So this is a lot of fun. So one more sleep, the 2024 release from Cinderlands. I'm going to go high 4 out of 5. I'm going to go 4.05. Like that's probably the best I can do. But if you didn't like ginger, I could see people like not pass, like giving this like a sub 2.5. It's just too much. It really is. It's such a intense beer on the palate. Again, if you're somebody who likes imperial pastry-esque beers, regardless of the style, but you don't love the sweetness that they can kick out, try this one out and see what you think. It definitely has, like, this is completely different than the Hardywood. Like, the Hardywood is just that, rich, decadent beer that you can think your gingerbread cookies, in an imperial stout form. This is not exactly that, even though I thought it was going to be, but it's a fun beer. So 4.05 out of 5. Fun beer. If you see it on the shelves, even after Christmas, pick it up. Don't be afraid. This will last for a while, for sure. All right, price point availability. I paid $5 for a can. I picked this one up at 1000 Beers on Peach Street in Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm okay with $5 a can. I'd imagine 4 packs of this probably in the $16 to $20 realm in Pittsburgh. If it's a little bit more expensive, I get it. If it's a little less expensive, that's cool. If you have seen this one and you are in Pennsylvania or wherever Cinderlands gets distribution, then let me know what you paid for it, which brings me to distribution. I have no idea. So it's Cinderlands. We don't see them here in the Buffalo, New York area. I picked this up on a day trip to Erie, Pennsylvania, and I was able to grab this along with the aforementioned 2 Spruce Tip IPAs, and I'm happy I did. I like what Cinderlands does, and this is a perfect example, I think, of what they can kind of bring to the table. Yeah, they're like, hey, here's this Imperial gingerbread-inspired milk stout, but it doesn't taste exactly like that. It has black IPA vibes. The ginger's heavy-handed. If I could change one thing on this beer, it wouldn't be kind of removing that hop bitterness. It'd be toning down the ginger a little bit, letting that cinnamon come more to the forefront, more of that vanilla bean, and just in general, like, again, you have vanilla bean, cinnamon, ginger, and milk sugar. The good thing is I really don't taste the lactose, and I don't think this is overly sweet, so the lactose might just be helping the body and mouthfeel, but I do think that this could really benefit from a little less ginger as a whole. Then again, if you love ginger, you might just love this one. I really thoroughly enjoy ginger, and it's going to be too much by the time I get down to, like, the last 3-4 ounces. But anyway, that does it for the Christmas Eve review here on the Beer Patrol. Don't think I swore again, so kudos to me. Probably not. I probably look back and be like, man, let that slip. What an idiot. But yeah, I had a couple people comment being like, I like when you curse. I curse in my other reviews. This is no big deal. That's the real Joe. But I'm trying to tone these down, make it more family friendly. I mean, if you want to watch this on Christmas Eve and you have family in the room, like you can't have some guy dropping F-bombs constantly. You just can't have it happen. But anyway, I want to hear from anybody out there who's had this beer. If not, and you're watching this on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, what are you drinking? What's in your glass right now? Let me know. I would love to hear, what you're imbibing on during the holiday season. That's part of the reason I say this all year long, but it's really true. I love hearing what other people are drinking, what they're enjoying. I love recommendations, whether good or bad. It's a fun thing. This hobby of reviewing beer on YouTube, it's been a blast, and hopefully it continues to be a blast. So check back tomorrow. It's not only going to be the 8th holiday beer review for the month of December 2024, but it's also Christmas Day, and we got a nice side-by-side that I can't wait to get into. So appreciate each and every one of you for not only supporting the channel, but stopping by for another beer review. Enjoy the rest of your Christmas Eve. If you're watching this on a different day, enjoy your day, no matter when it is. And until the next one, cheers. And I said 8%, right? This is scary drinkable. Like, this is scary drinkable from the ABV perspective. The ginger, though, impedes that a little bit, and it's a bummer, but we'll live. Cheers.